Hi, welcome to the video from Southern Allegheny Museum of Art, Bedford. We've been trying to bring you videos every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I hope you enjoy it. Today I'm bringing oil pastels. It's not used very often, and I don't know why. I enjoy them. There's the message up here. Aha, I've already got a couple of people on. I hope it's not staticky. The last two times it was, and I know yesterday it was pretty bad. It's a Facebook problem. It's not our problem. And if it is static, I apologize. I am Linda Calloway. I am privileged to be one of the instructors for SAMA, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, it would be nice if you care to donate, because right now our museum is closed, just like so many other businesses, and we rely on our public to do that. Okay, I'm trying something different today. I'm trying to be closer, and I may be able to read some of these, but I may have to do this. Not a very attractive thing, but if I peek at you, it's okay. I want to show you something. First of all, oil pastels are not like chalk pastels. They're, as the name implies, they're very oily, and they're almost like a Crayola, except they are softer. They make marks much easier. This is one set. It came from Hobby Lobby. You can buy oil pastels at Walmart. This was $6.99 for 60 sticks. This one also came from Hobby Lobby. It was $4.67 for 36. So this one was 13 cents a stick, and this one was 11.5 cents a stick. And the first thing I want to do is compare the two and give my opinion. They're pretty much the same, but I do prefer one over the other, and I'll tell you why. But these are great things for children to use because they're soft. They put a lot of color and pigment on the paper. If they get on your table or on something, they're easy to wipe off with a baby wipe or just a paper towel. So I want to show you what they do, and I want to compare the two different ones and give my opinion. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn this camera down to my paper. And I think this is going to be a little easier to see. Let me turn it. There we go. Now, this is just a piece of copy paper. It works on the copy paper, but it works better on drawing paper. I'm going to try to use the same colors to compare. Let me see here. Here is one of my favorite colors, which is a turquoisey color. I'm going to put, this is the bigger one, and this is the smaller package. I'm going to put the larger package on this side and the other package on this side so we'll know. Notice how much pigment I get off of this one stick with just a few little strokes. I don't know if you can see it. Let me get it a little closer to you. There's some little white dots in there because the oil pastel did not get all the way down into the tooth of the paper. Okay, this one is lighter. It's not as turquoisey. I don't see another one is the same color. This has a little more green in it. It's fairly close in the same color family. Now, what you do to get this going smooth is rub it with your finger. Now, I always think our fingers are our best tools. Do you have to use just your finger? No. You can use something like, I call them Q-tips. This is a generic brand. I think the proper term is cotton buds. I've never heard anyone call them a cotton bud before. I think that's their proper name. Okay, they look about the same right here. Let's try, I'm going to try a dark purplish color. Let me see if I can find it. Here is a dark, no, that's a dark blue. Let me see. This is about the closest I could find in comparison. We blend it pretty easily. Next to it, This one's a little bit darker. I think it blends a little bit better. If you want my opinion, when we start blending this, I think it blends a little bit better on the one that's slightly more expensive. There's not much change between 11.5 cents and 13 cents. But I think this one blends just a little bit better. And I've got to put them back in the right container, or correct container. Now let's try going something lighter. We don't have to go all the way to the white. I'm going to go to a light gray. Oh, that's just blending right in beautifully. Let me try the light gray over here. I've got one comparable. It's not showing up as well on top of the dark. And I'm getting a lot of little crumbs coming off of it. I don't think you can probably see that. So if I'm just going to give my opinion, I think these oil pastels by Lowell Cornell are a little bit better. They're not that much difference in price, and they're not that much difference on the paper. But I'm just going to declare these slightly better. And when you go to find some of these, don't worry about the company so much. Just find something that works for you. Now, what can we do with these? Lots of things. Because they blend so well, you can make easily. Let's just do kind of an abstract shape. This is a nice coral color. I want to color it in fairly heavy, and then I'm taking my finger and blending it in. I'm going to leave it out here in case I need it. Let's take a yellow. And right here where the two meet, I'm getting another color. In fact, it's smearing just a little bit. I'm not going to worry too much about that. In fact, I like that blended color, and I can take my finger into it. If you're picky and don't want to use your finger, you can use the paper towel or the cotton bud to do it. But you're getting a lot of your color off on the paper towel. And if you get it on your finger, it's easy to get it off. So I do prefer, you're getting a little bit of color on the end of your oil pastel. That's not hard to get rid of. Blend it in, and if you want a very blended color, just keep going. And it blends beautifully. If you try to do, and you can just wipe it off with a paper towel. If you do this with a crayon, you can get the same effect, but it takes you a whole lot longer. Because this has oil in it, it goes down into the pores of the paper much easier. Another way you can blend it is with an oil. This is almond oil. I've also got a vitamin E oil. It's what I use when I am diluting my essential oils, and I'm putting just about 3 little drops right in here. So I can get the cotton bud. Isn't that a funny name? We'll call him a Q-tip just because it's easier. And I can smooth it in with this. And it makes a very smooth surface. It also leaves a little bit of oily residue behind. But that's okay. Oh, that's blending well. I like that. It's much smoother looking than this one. Let me see if I can bring it up closer to you. It's much smoother looking because it fills in all the pores of the paper. And you can still blend it with your finger. Okay, this is not going to be our project today. Our project today is going to be a bare tree. Some people think I'm kind of trying to come up with the words, they don't like trees without leaves. They think they're Halloweenish, they think they're spooky. I love them because you can see the skeletal structure of the tree. Once it gets all budded out and the leaves are all over it, you see the canopy in a big blob. Maybe you see a blob kind of like this, and it shows the shape of the tree. I like seeing the shape of the tree when you see the bare limbs coming out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a skeletal type tree. And I'm going to show you how to do it very easily. I have done this project with children as young as 3rd grade, and they've had very good success with it. So I'm going to bring my other piece of paper over here. And because I decided I liked this smaller tray better, I'm going to only use these unless there's a certain color I need in the other tray. They come with a little piece of plastic on top of it to kind of hold them in. I would save that because when you slide it back in the box to keep up with it, this helps keep them in. But it's not necessary. I'm going to use complementary colors. I know Jen has been doing the color wheel, and I don't have one beside me to show you. But in my world, yellow is always on top. Color wheels have the same progression, but yellow is not always on top. It is to me. And I am going, between yellow and red is orange. And the complement of orange is straight across, and it's blue. I'm going to use blue and orange for my basic tree and background. Now, I will also use some of the colors right beside the blues, right beside the orange. Those are analogous colors. If you look over here in the tray, next to orange is yellow orange, and next to it is a peachy color, and I can use any of those for the sky. I can use any of the blues, blue-greens, red-violet in for my blue. I'm going to start with a medium blue because I want to go lighter and I want to go darker. I'm going to start here on the bottom of the page and come straight up. This is not going to be the base of the tree. I would never put my base of the tree on the very bottom. This is going to be midway on the trunk going up into the canopy. And I'm going to turn right here and go off the page. We're not going to see the end of this branch. The end of this branch is way over here. I'm going to start the other part of the trunk right here. I'm going to come on up and I'm going to go off the page over here. Notice I didn't do it in the very same place. I went off. This is the branch coming back to the trunk, and here's the trunk going up. I'm going to bring this branch in here to the front of the tree. I think you can see that, yes. Branches come out all the way around. I maybe even make this wider down here, and because we color this in, you can change it quite a bit. I'm going to come up here, and does this look like the top of a Y? I'm going to come in here, and now it definitely looks like a Y. These branch off. It's like drawing a little V in here. I'm going to come this way. Actually, I'm going to come behind and start off with my branch. As the branches go up the tree, they get progressively smaller. I'm going to make this one wide, and here is, because I made that wider, I have to split it again and bring it down here. I put this one where it comes out over here. And then when we get up into this canopy, it goes crazy. I'm not going to draw all of them. I'm just going to suggest, and we'll put some more in here as we get the sky going. Now, trees are not usually blue, but if it's dawn or sunset, you can maybe see some of these as black or other darker colors. I'm going to bring this one in here a little bit. But the sky is normally blue, but at sunset and at dawn, it can be different colors. I'm going to bring just a little one right in here. And notice you can have these going different ways. They can go behind others. You can bring several little things in here. I'm not going to worry so much about what it's doing right now. I'm just getting a tree. I'll have more coming in here later. We need to start coloring this in, but I may want to do the background first because it does smear. I'm going to get a selection of oranges. This is kind of a red orange. This is kind of a true orange. And I'm going to come in here before I get, that's awfully bright. I kind of like it. I think I will get progressively lighter as I go up. Oh, these blend so well. Now remember, when I come in next to this blue, it may smear. That's okay. If I really don't like the way it's looking, one of the things I can do is scratch it off. Or I can bring in the oil and blend it out. In fact, that might be a good thing to do right now. My tray moved over, and I don't see my little few drops. There we go. I might want to blend this in the background. Maybe I want to blend it with a paper towel. Oh, that works fast, and it's pretty. I don't want all this texture, especially in my sky. I do want texture in my tree. I want quite a bit of texture in my tree. Now, it's going to be kind of hard as I'm working for me to continue to talk. Usually, when I'm working, I'll have maybe some music in the background, maybe the TV running if I'm in my dining room like I am right now, and I'll have background noise. But I feel that if I stay too quiet, you're not going to know what's going on. Oh, look how that blended. I can even make it lighter if I want to by using either the white or the light gray to come in here and put patches. If I want to, yellow is part of orange, so I could put some yellow in here because it is an analogous color. In fact, why don't I pick this? This is yellow, but it's a light yellow. Oh, I like that in there. You probably can't see any difference in it, but I like it. So I'm going to continue to do my background. There you can see the color, and I don't have the orange in it. I'm going to continue to do my background in my oranges. I got some on the tree. I don't care. It's easy enough for me to color over because these blend together. Now, I said I was going to get darker at the bottom and lighter at the top, and I've sort of changed that. I need to get some of this in here. I kind of changed that. Doesn't bother me too much, though. That just blends so beautifully with that almond oil. It does. The vitamin E oil would work also. Another thing you can use is mineral spirits, but they smell. And it's not as child friendly. I wouldn't be using the mineral spirits with children unless they're older. If they're older, that's not a problem. So I'm right now getting in this background. I like using the yellow with it. It is still the color family. It's still warm. And it works for me. Now, if you can see right now, there's a lot of texture in that, and it's hard for me to get down for you to see that. Maybe I can bring it up closer for you. Right in here, there's quite a bit of texture. How am I going to get that blended in? I'm going to use the almond oil and put a few more drops in there. Barely touch it. We don't want this whole thing greasy. This is heavier paper, but you can still use it with the copy paper. This is, now I can't think of the name of what I have right here. It's heavier drawing paper, and it works great. I'm going to continue. I've got to get onto the tree so that you can see what I do with the tree. So I'm going to very quickly get this color in here. Now there's none of this red orange in there, so I'm going to go back and put a little bit in there. I don't want it all one color. I like it being a little painterly. So I'm going to come back over this. Now in most drawings, most paintings, you're going to have a light source. Since I'm making this tree up, I don't have a photograph or I don't have visual reference of looking at trees to see where the light source is. So I've got to make it up. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to say the light is coming this direction, so the dark side will be over here. Let me move it over a little bit. The dark side's going to be over here. The source of light's going to be over here. It doesn't make as much difference in my background, but it is going to make a big difference on my tree. I'm going to stop on the background right here and start on my tree. I can always go back and put that in. Now, since I said this is going to be the dark side, I'm going to come in with this really dark blue and start doing this. This really dark blue is going to show up this limb that is on the top. Now I can also use black and white in here to change the values of things. I do not like trees that are just too straight. I should have made more of a curve on my trunk. I can come back out this way and make it come this way a little more. I can always thicken this trunk as it's going off the page if I need to. I usually put more torque in it. Now I'm not going to go all the way over where this blue is coming into the orange. It's turning dark. There's a dark line right here. I do not want my whole tree that dark color. Notice how this light blue blends right in there. I don't want it as smooth as I wanted my sky. I want texture in here. I want to be able to see that this tree looks rough. The way we can really make it show up is let a little bit of that white show through, but not too much. I'm going to come in here and do this. I even want a lighter color. I usually end up with a handful of pastels, chalk pastels or oil pastels or whatever I'm working with. Colored pencils, I'll end up with a whole handful of them, or they'll be spread out all over my table. That's okay, then I know exactly what I'm working with. That has a little bit of green in it. I like that color. I can come in and smooth it a little bit just to get rid of the white underneath. This is the one that's coming out from the tree. Notice I'm not doing long strokes. When I'm coloring something, I usually use short overlapping strokes. When we were doing the dog and the other animals, I must have said that 50 times. And I say that to my students over and over again, because we want them to realize that if you take slow overlapping strokes, it's going to come out better. Notice that I'm putting a lot of that dark around here. I can also come in here with little strokes, short choppy strokes, and those short choppy strokes are going to make this look rough. There are a few trees that do not have rough bark, but in general, if you're talking about trees, they're rough. Now I'm going to just try an experiment and see if this red-violet makes it darker in there. It doesn't, but it is a neat color. It is a variation of blue, but I don't know that I really want to use it. I think I would rather go to a dark purple. And black is very harsh. I don't use black except in tiny bits. So I can come in with a black at the very end. Now this has a light source coming on it. Let me see if I can find the light blue. It's going to come in here. Oh, this feels like it's broken. Don't worry if they break. When you're working and you put pressure on it, it may break on you. That's okay. If it breaks, you can still use the piece. And sometimes I have broken them on purpose, just so I can have a little piece to fill in a background with, so they don't have to be perfect. Now, notice that the strokes I'm putting in here are going with, I'm going this way to give it shape, to give it roundness. You can't see very much of that. If I go in with a little bit darker, it helps you color in the shape of the branch. It's going this way. It's not just flat. It has volume. And these little marks I'm putting right in here help accentuate it. It's going to be darker on the bottom side of this branch than it is on the top side. That white didn't show up very well. I can put more pressure on it, and if I push really hard, I leave a big divot of it, and that helps. It might also help to put just a tiny bit of yellow on there to kind of make it look sunny. Oh, I like that in there. It makes it look sunny and like the light is hitting it. So take your time. Use your lighter colors on the edge. Short, choppy strokes. This is coming out. I'm not going to make it as severe as that one. I'm going to keep changing colors in here. Remember, it's going to be darker on the bottom side. If I decide to make this branch wider, I can do that. In fact, they get smaller as they're going up. This one's very large. I can make this one quite a bit larger coming up in here. And when I color over the orange that's already there, it's giving me a mixed color. I don't know if you really want to watch me do this whole thing, but I think you need to see some of this coming in so you can tell. This branch right here that is going behind, I'm making it dark. I can make it come on through. Do you see how I skipped over this branch and came in here? That's because these branches on the back are going to be in shadow. And I'm going to make it really dark in here, like it's coming off the back side. So I need to come in here with a white and get a little bit of sunlight so I can see the difference between this branch from the back and this tree trunk. I can put a little bit of that light color in there to give it shape. See, I've still got my hand full of oil pastels and going. Now, I've told you that it's different from the chalk pastels. I didn't bring those others up here to contrast with it, but it's interesting when you try to color with the different ones. I like the chalk pastels quite a bit, but it's a totally different medium. I like using a little bit of everything. If you told me I had to name my favorite, I would probably say just pencil. I love drawing in pencil. But this is like drawing rather than painting. Even though you call this a pastel painting, I want to contrast this a little bit. I'm going to get some of this brighter orange in here to contrast this a little bit. I got a smear in it. I don't mind that. In fact, I can put some in there if I want to. This is darker because this is lighter. This will be lighter because this is the dark side. We've heard that before, haven't we? I just saw a meme on Facebook. Come to the dark side. We have masks. I thought it was funny. I could even put a tiny bit of the, where did I put it? This darker red in here. I wouldn't use much, but if you want to make this look darker, I'd put just a little bit and smooth it in. Remember, your finger is your best tool. I do like that in there, and we're getting a contrast between the background here and the background there. The more contrast you can put in there, the more interesting it's going to be. Now, if you don't mind the harsh line, leave it. If you do mind it, blend it in. If you can't blend it in with your finger, you can always go to the Q-tip and blend it in. I like a little bit of that blue that's coming in my background. When I'm painting something, I nearly always add some of the other color in it. I could put a little bit of this orange in here. When you put complements together, then you get kind of a brown. The blue and the orange are complementary colors. It gives it an interesting, I almost want to say flavor, when you put a little orange in there. In fact, it might be good to use a very pastel. Oh, I like that a lot. Let me get it closer to you so you can see it. On this light side, I put a very pastel color right here. It's a light peach. I need that. Oh, that really helps it right here. Where this dark branch is coming out, that light peach helps it. A little bit of light peach here and there on that helps it too. I like that on there. Nobody says you have to keep going the same way. Okay. I've got to get it dark up here. Notice my handful of oil pastel. I think I need some more branches in here. I'm going to make this one really dark. It's the purple tone, and it's coming out behind this. I don't want to get it too thick, but when this branch splits, it's not going to be teeny weeny unless it's just a twig. You'll see some twigs coming out here and there, like that. And those twigs come out. They may go behind. They may go in front. I can make a twig coming out over in here. I've got to make it a little bit thicker over in here. Notice how they don't stop right here at the edge. Most of these go off the paper. It is the electric company trees. When you have overhead electrical lines and you have power companies coming in, they do not want the tree limbs to get in the power and the trees in the power lines. So they come in and they trim them. And that's not their job to do it all the time. I mean, that's not what they're trained to do. And they chop those poor, oh, it broke. Sometimes that's better even. Let me peel the paper off of this. And then I can set it down and use it as a broken piece. I can go back and pull the paper back on some of that other and use it that way. I'm going to have to make this one, I think, kind of come out from the middle in here too. See, that little bit of dark around there puts this in front and pushes it back. I want to push this back over in here. In fact, I did that wrong. I want the darkest part right here. Remember I said you could scratch it off? I'm just going to use my thumbnail. that makes a beautiful little lilac color. Let's come in here with this blue. We want it still dark, but we want it definitely lighter than that branch over there coming out. As it comes out from the tree, this branch can get lighter because it gets more light on it. Now, if I'm going to continue to draw this tree, I'm going to have to go and do that sky. If I don't do the sky in now, then it's going to smear too much. So I'm going to turn the whole thing upside down. No one says you have to have your drawing, your painting going one direction all the time. Because this is the dark side, I'm going to put some light in here. Don't have any of that peach down in here. So I'm going to come in here and add a little bit of that peach color to it. I don't like to use a color exclusively in one spot. So I'm coming in here with this peach color. I need to get some of this orange in there. This is the yellow orange. I think the dark red orange I dropped on the floor. I dropped one a moment ago, and I don't know which one it was. I'm not going to stop and pick it up right now. Ooh, I love that peachy color. How did I get this so smooth earlier? Come on, somebody knows that answer. Okay. Come in with a little bit of this oil. I'm not even turning this paper towel. I'm just using it in this spot. I don't want to get it in the blue too much. I can get it in the blue a little bit and it's fine. But I want to mostly put it on the orange background. I can even use this without putting any more pastels on there to blend it in. I think I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter up in here. And I'm almost got the background in. I am going to make a huge canopy up here of these different branches. So they're going to crisscross. Some will come in front of the others. Some will go in the background. I can always come back in with the oranges and change the color a little bit. But don't think it's going to matter that much. I want the base color to be there, but now the star is going to be the tree. The ones in front are going to be a little bit lighter. The ones in back are going to be a little bit darker. So you can start contrasting these different colors in here. I'm not making the whole thing that color. I am going to get another Q-tip over here. And I said I wasn't going to do that, but I want to kind of blend this in. I wondered if I could make one come in from that. Not very well. I want this to be smooth in the background. I don't want the white to show unless I have just a little bit on the branch. Medium color and the light color. How can I push this one forward? With some white and some dark. I'm liking this one. I like the colors. I like the contrast of the colors. Let me make that more medium. Ooh, it's so smooth up here. It's still a little bit wet with the almond oil. And that just draws so easily. Try not to keep... This needs to be a smaller branch because it's coming off of a medium branch. Try to keep your contrast going. This could use a smaller one coming out. Remember, it has to stay small, but you can divide it up at any time. Look at this one. That's behind that branch. That's why it's darker. I got a white line in here. That's all I need to do. I wonder if that will help if I just dip that a little bit over there. It did. Now, I haven't used any black in this. My darkest color is purple. My lightest color is the white. But I love what this peach does. I want some peach right in the middle of this branch. And I'm putting lots of pressure on it. And little streaks in there. Changes the way it looks. I like that. This one, however, doesn't quite have enough contrast. I'm going to come in with this dark color and give it a little bit more definition. This is, to me, intuitive. You just play with it. And like I had earlier, I didn't like that one thing. I just took my thumbnail and scraped it. If I want this to be lighter in here, I can scrape it out. Do I have to? It's going to have to be cleaned at my fingers a little bit later. But I like that texture. I like what it's doing. It's not the white paper showing through because these oil pastels have already stained it. Very little. Could I use another kind of tool? Sure. Ooh, I'm getting some orange in here because I'm scraping up what was on the paper underneath. That's very interesting. I like that. So take your time. And remember, it's the whitest at the bottom, and it tapers as it's coming up. Remember, you can change the shape of this one. This one can be thicker because it's down toward the bottom of the page. I'm liking it. Let me get it up closer where you can see it. Here's the bottom. I can't tell exactly what it's in focus. I do like the vibrancy that you get from using the orange as opposed to the blue. And the purple, because it is blue and red, still fit into the analogous color. The peach, because it is part of the orange. Orange and white make a peach. Still fit in with the color scheme. Now I'm just looking at it right now and trying to decide what needs to be done. What I would, notice this right here, it just stops. If I had, I'm going to make another one over here. I'm going to make it like it's coming through and just stop. If that goes like that, it looks like somebody just chopped that branch off. So what I'm going to do is bring it up behind in here and just make it go off. I'm going to get more and more narrow and come off up this way. I think maybe part of this branch should come in front of that. Let me get a medium blue and color this in. If I want to make a branch that comes off of this one and goes over the trunk, I'm probably going to have to scrape it. Now I have a white in my hand. I can color over this and come in here and show that there's another branch coming off over in here. I will probably have to make it a medium blue here and a medium blue here, but to make it show that it's going across here, I'm going to have to make it lighter. And the way I got that light in there was scrape it. And the way I'm going to make it really show up is to put some of this purple or dark blue in there. Now I've got a little bit more time, and it's going to take me a while to do this. I don't think I'm going to use any black in this. I could. Let me show you where the black is. I could put a little bit of black A little bit of black in here. You know what? It's not as soft as this purple, and it's taking some of that off, which I didn't like anyway. So I'm going to come back and put the purple in there. I'm not going to use any black in here. If I want to get these edges harder in here, I could just keep adding it. Could I add a little bit of the peachy color over in here if I wanted to? Sure. Let's see if I can find it. Where did it go? It's the one that broke. There we go. It's the one that broke. And when you have to tear the paper off a little bit like you do with a crayon. I can put a little bit of the peachy color over in that dark. Take your time with this. This could be bending over that way. So I can come in here with this color and show where there's almost like a little elbow looking thing and bend this over. Trees are fascinating to me. Maybe they are to you too. I think that one needs to be divided a little bit. So I can put some of the orange in there and divide this one up a little bit. You get to control how the tree looks, because we're making this one up like we make up flowers. And you can decide, oh, that's awfully dark in there. I kind of like it, but let's have this one going over that one. Let's make it a little bit lighter in here. When it crosses over, it usually gets a little lighter so that you can tell which one's in front. Oh, like that. Yeah, I would have to keep working with this to push the colors, to get the darkers, get the lighters, let them overlap. This is not finished. I'm getting a lot of the little chunks down here. I can come in here and do a little bit of this. And where's my medium blue? I could put the top of a bush. There could be a bush down here beside this tree. Some tall grass. I said this wasn't the very base of the tree, but you could have, this could be a part of a top of a bush in here. You can leave some of that other showing. You can put some of this peach in there. Just work with it in little patches to change the temperature over in here, and it's going to read as a bush. Take your time with it. I know I'm doing it very quickly. And show this up as a bush. I would not outline it. Let me outline this one and show you what it looks like. Okay, that does not look good. I've outlined it. So what I need to do to make it look like it belongs there is to just take some time. You can even have a few of these just kind of off in there. Maybe a little bit of white. And you can push on it really hard to get little flakes. Someplace on here, once you're finished, you need to sign it. If you want to use something like a pencil or a ballpoint pen, it can scrape away this and show you the colors underneath it, and it would be orange. I'm going to pull up another piece of paper. Goodbye, tree. I'll work on this some more to come up with the colors. This is something I've had third grade students work on. I think maybe even some second grades, and they had good luck with it. I can put these oil pastels onto a colored background and not color in my background. A good thing to show in here would be flowers. This is not the same color on here as it would be on white. See how the green has made this darker. If that bothers you, then you can use your peach or your white and change the color. One reason I chose green was I knew I was going to show you a very quick little flower. And the green makes a good background if you're going to put some leaves in. I do not draw stems on most of my flowers because I just make them a bunch of flowers without much background showing. I'm going to have this whole tray sitting out here in a minute. I don't see the green I'm looking for. I'm going to have to go over here in this other tray and get a green. That's okay. I could have used a blue. In fact, that would have been a good thing. I can still use a dark blue. And if I use the dark blue on this side and come back with this lighter green, it's going to look green. Same thing. If I want detail, I can get it with this purple. And I'm using more pressure on this side than I am on the other to kind of get very lightly put it on the other side. If I want that side to look lighter, I can come in with this lighter green, with the yellow, with the white, and change it. So remember, you can do it on different colored paper. I would probably leave the background this color and don't put any oil pastel on it and leave that background showing. Well, I like that little bit of yellow in there. I can add yellow to this and change the tone of the flower. I don't usually color anything one shade. I blend them. Remember, we can blend with our finger, with the end of the oil pastel, with the Q-tip, cotton bud, and keep working until you get the effect that you like. Don't forget that you can always scratch off if you really don't like something that you've got. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about next week. So, in order to finish this, I would put other flowers here and there. I probably would even change the color palette. I'm going to have to kind of line these up in color families back in this. What's happening next week? Next week, Jen is going to be doing stencils. Now, that's all the information I got. Stencils are usually a plastic or acrylic sheet, something like this, that has holes cut in it. And then you usually dab it with a brush or a sponge and transfer the paint or the color from the stencil onto your paper or canvas or whatever you're working on. And they come in all sorts of sizes and shapes. You could even make stencils out of lightweight cardboard yourself and use them that way. So I'm interested to see what she's going to be doing with the stencils. Mary Pat is going to have a clay day. What does that mean? It means she's going to be using her probably stoneware clay. That's what she normally uses and fires in her kiln, is the stoneware. And I love stoneware clay. I think when I was doing the polymer clay, I showed you the couple of brush holders that I had made out of clay. One was painted and one was natural. I'm going to be doing handmade stamps. You get stamps all the time. A lot of them are self-inking, and you stick them in there and stamp them on the paper. I'm going to be making them out of these foam sheets. You buy these foam sheets in a little package at Walmart. You may have some already. I don't know if you're able to go to Walmart to shop right now, but if you do, you pick them up. They're not very expensive. You get a package of all these colors. The color doesn't matter. we're going to, this is self-adhesive, we're going to cut them out in different shapes, and then you peel this off and stick it on a piece of cardboard. I'm going to cut out hearts, I'm going to cut out flowers, I'm going to cut out weird shapes, maybe a moon, maybe just a oblong that doesn't have any sorts of shape. I could cut out a flower petal, I could stamp it several different places and make it into a flower. So we're going to be using these self-adhesive foam sheets to make stamps. And I probably will color them with markers. I may try using watercolor. You can do watercolor on them, you can do acrylic on them, but if you do them with acrylics, they're going to get really stiff, and you're going to have to wash them off or clean them off with a baby wipe so that they don't get real stiff. We want them to have that softness like the foam for you to use. Also, I mentioned donations. I hope you're enjoying Sama's projects. We try to make them interesting. We try to vary the content. If you have any suggestions, if there's something you would like to see, maybe you really want to see somebody paint an elephant. That's your desire. Put it in the comments and say, I'd love to see somebody do an elephant. Maybe you'd like to see Chinese watercolor with the special little brushes. Put your suggestions in the comments, and we will see if we have an artist that can do that for you. We love taking different suggestions and seeing what we can do with them. Every one of the instructors that's been on here are volunteers. We do it because we love art, we love children, we love Sama. And spread the love. If you're able to donate, fine. If you're not able to donate, fine. Just be our audience and say nice things about Sama, about the instructors, about the content. Remember, you can be a part of selecting the content. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for letting me come. I've been several times, and I love it. It's my mission is to spread joy through art. And thank you very much. And finish.